there we go. So it seems to be... Alright, I don't know why mic aux wasn't working. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear this now. Alright, thanks everyone. Alright, we are going back to... Right, so I guess this has been zero sound for the last 20 minutes, so sorry about that. We'll just continue on. Okay, so this is, whoops. So this is a class method, cool, and then we need to have a valid method to see if it's valid. Cool, and then this is going to be passport parse. Let's see if this works. Passport.parse. Okay, we're getting passport objects, and we're getting undefines. Cool. Okay, so what does this say? This is all 8 fields are present. Invalid, it is missing height. So it's okay, we can miss CID. So basically, all of these things we can miss except CID. So, yeah. These are required except CID split. Okay, required equals. And what we want to do is we want to know if each one of these values in the required list. So we'll say required dot each are for key in required. Here, we'll make it required. We'll make the list here. Okay, so for key in required, if key, so turn false unless is present, or is, I guess is truthy is what we want, because undefined is going to be a thing. And then turn true, I guess, true. So let's see if these are valid. We want to do, guess we're going to have to assert each one of these independently. Before we do that, let's parse string. Let's see if the valids sort of line up. Oh, something's angry. Okay, cool. Required is not defined. Oh, of course, because it's this dot required. So true, false, true, false. That doesn't sound right if I recall correctly. It was supposed to be true, true, false, false, I think. So second is false. Third one, oh, true. Okay, and then the fourth one is, so true, false, true, false. Okay, that works. So let's assert that these are correct. So assert this is gonna get weird. So assert this, assert not. Actually, oops, that's too many asserts. All right, third one. We're going to assert this one is valid, and then we're going to assert that this one is not valid. Cool. All right, and here. Actually, we can bring this one down too. And the last thing that we need to assert is that 4 of them are valid. So we can say, so parse input format, instead of doing for string, we're going to map these. Map string. And then we're going to, instead of logging them, filter value just value. Okay, I think there's an identity function from underscore that I can use to do exactly this. And then we'll call length, and we'll log that. Did not log. So parse num equals, and then we'll log num. Okay, so 2. So this is clearly something for num valid. So let's grab this and just move it up here. Num valid equals text. Oops, equals. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna parse input the text. Don't need that. Map that. Filter just on the truthiness of that. So just, I'm gonna preface this with a not, which just like inverts it twice. We don't need to do that because we're controlling the output of valid. It's always going to be either true or false. I like putting this in or this in just to indicate that it's a Boolean, like just to indicate that we're casting to a Boolean. And then, all right, the length, cool. So num valid, we have num valid, and we could just say num valid, and that takes text or the input. So we want to assert that 2 is the num valid input. And that asserts. Okay, cool. So let's try our input, our actual input. Get your puzzle input. Cool. And we will new file input dot coffee. I should probably just start doing these alls texts on dual dot sports equals. Okay, cool. So what are we doing? We're saying input, we're going to override the input variable again because, as I previously said, I'm a monster, and that's how I roll. And then we are going to log num valid input and see what we get. It's, oh, we're not logging it. 264. Okay, so moment of truth. 264. That's the right answer. Okay, cool. So we did that right. So closer to saving your vacation, of course. Continue to part 2. All right, the line is moving more quickly now. I'm just going to grab this and make it 2. Oops, not there. Okay, part 2. According to sample values, here are some invalid passports. Okay, count the number of valid passports. Okay, so same deal. We're going to have our defs. Defs is such a terrible name for these. Tests, and then run. Okay, so let's read this now. Okay, the line is moving more quickly now, but you overhear airport security talking about how passports with invalid data are getting through. Better add some data validation quick. Okay, you can continue to ignore the CID field, but each other field has strict rules about what values are valid for automatic validation. Okay, so this is where the rules get more complicated. So birth year must be 4 digits, at least 1920, and at most 2002. Okay. Issue year, 4 digits, at least 2010, and at most 2020. So expiration year, same deal. Height, yeah, it must be according to a format. And then it has, okay. So basically we're adding validation rules to all of these things. And this is, yeah, that sounds like it's going to get repetitive. Okay, well, I mean, hair color. Okay, must be hex. Eye color, exactly one of passport ID, 9-digit number, including leading zeros. Oh, okay. So this is, we're going to have to leave passport ID, even though it's a number, we're going to have to leave it as a string so we can see the leading zeros. Okay, cool. So basically, we're going to just build off our previous work here. So we've got our passport class. So now what we're doing is we're just checking to make sure that every required field has a value. And that is not something that we're going to have to do anymore. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make like a valid function for each one of these values. So let's see what a good one to start with. Birth year. Okay, so let's try birth year valid. And so the first thing we need to do is we need to double check that birth year exists. It's present. It has to be present. And this is one of those times when I don't know if I had audio on when I was doing this constructor, but one of the things that I find nice about this constructor method is it gives you a natural place to parse input. Parse float. I always use parse float as well over parse int because I always forget the base. Okay. Parse. So that's birth year. What are the other ones? Anything YR is a number. Okay. So that we'll do these as well. So birth year, what are the requirements for birth year? 4 digits, at least 1920 and at most. So four digits is covered in the fact that it's going to be at least this and at most that. So we're going to have, what is it, 1920. 1920 is less than or equal to birth year. And birth year is less than or equal to 2020. Okay, and that will cover the null case as well, so that's fine. So what else we have? EYR valid. I think this is going to be the same thing. Expiration year, 4 digits, at least 2020 and at most 2030. So 2020, and this is EYR. IYR, 4 digits, at least 2010 and at most 2020. So what was that called again? IYR. Whoops. So at least 2010 and at most 2020. Okay, so let's start with those. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and call key valid. And that's what we're going to do. We're just going to call key valid for all of these keys. And so for key in required. So we're gonna maybe what we should do is we should map over all of valids. Or you know what, I liked what I was doing before, which is returning false if any of them are invalid. So in required, return false unless it's valid. true because this allows us to save some operations. So we're going to need to fill out the rest of these. So heights, so height valid. HGT valid, a number followed by either centimeters or inches. So we're going to need to do 2 steps here. We're going to need to do a regex to make sure that it matches numbers and then either cm or inch. And then we're going to need to actually take that match and double check that the number is valid. So we're going to have that, and then we'll have num, and we'll have unit, okay, equals, and how are we going to look at this? It'll be digits, and then followed by was it either cm or inches? So let's take some examples here. So here we go. Oops. And we'll just here bring in log equals, screw that up, log equals console. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just test some of these valid methods independently, just to make sure that they're not going to screw me up later. Require assert. And so I'm going to just sort of like see if that works. So dot match. And then I'm going to log. Actually, I can just log that. Oops. I'll see what this gives me back. It's angry about something. Canossal is not defined. Wow. How about now? No. Match is not a function. Oh, it's the other friggin' way. Again. I always screw this up. Every time. Every time. Really am annoyed by that. Okay, so 190 centimeters. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so num unit, and then let's log num. Oh no, I see. I haven't done this match. Okay. Log num unit. So let's log the num unit. That sounds wrong. Okay. All right. So this is. Oh yeah, I'm gonna wanna grab this up, and this is gonna be Hugget. All right, and then we're going to want to know. I guess was it switch unit? Say when inches. So we'll return false unless okay. So we're gonna just GTFO if not match. And then based on what the unit is, so if the unit is centimeters, 150, 193, and if it's inches, so 150. 193, and then 5976. Okay, and we're going to basically do the same crap that we're doing here. So we're going to say 50. It's very repetitive, this like checking if it's, you know, less than or whatever. We could probably refactor this out into a method. And might actually do that later, but for now I guess copy and paste is the way to go. So 5976. All right. Is that how you do switch stuff in CoffeeScript? I always forget. Here I've got those. look. Is that it? Yeah, it's, you indent it. I knew you did. All right. Cool. So, yeah, else false. So this is basically going to return this if it's centimeters, this if it's inches, and if it's any other unit, then we're going to return false. So we shouldn't get anything else because we are matching one of these two values. So yeah, I don't know, but just to be safe, we'll do that. So that's height. What's next? Hair color. So that is a hex, and it's got to be exactly 6 characters. It doesn't seem like they need to be a valid hex number. HCL, which is good because that makes our job a little bit easier. So where's HCL? HCL. Okay. So this is going to be probably just a regex test. So HCL, rather than having to parse it and validate it, we just need to test it. So this is going to be like, we don't need all this stuff. We can just say, okay, it must be an octothorpe. I don't know if I need to escape that or not, but maybe not. Maybe. And then 0 to 9 and A to F, and we're going to have exactly 6 of those. And then we're going to test HCL. Okay. Eye color, exactly 1 of. Okay. Eye color is going to be in this list. So eye color in split. There you go. So eye color is going to be in that array. So passport ID. Valid is going to be another one of these things where it has to be a 9-digit number including leading zeros. So really it just needs to be, oops, dot test, 9-digit number. Is that it? 9-digit number including leading zeros. Okay. And oh, we need to make sure that it's anchored. So start and end. Maybe I should do this as well. This needs to be start and end as well. We should probably do the same thing here, just in case. End. There we go. Okay, so these are going to anchor the regexes, so it's the whole input. Country ID we don't care about, but we should have a valid and can be just true. Okay, so let's see. This is going to return false unless it's valid, and it can call the valid function, and the valid function returns true. And then eventually it'll just become true. Okay, so now for the testing. So BYR valid, these are the individual tests. I'm going to skip those and go straight to the invalid passports here. These should all be invalid. I'm going to see, because if these work, then these worked as well. So let's get this in here. Input equals, so this is invalid input equals, okay. And then we've also got valid input here. So let's get these in as well. Oops. Valid input. Oops. Why am I like this? There we go. All right. There we go. So we got invalid input and valid input. And we can, so let's start testing some of these. So we got parse input. Okay, so for string in parse input, valid input. Let's try invalid input. Let's make a password and assert that it's not valid. So where is that? Parse. Yeah, my CID valid is below the parse, which is not good. There you go. Assert passport dot parse string. This is not okay. And then, oops, assert in valid input that it is. Nope. Okay, so we got a problem here. Assertion 187. Yeah, so something's not. So we're gonna log the string and we'll find out which one it is. So something here is not valid. So let's throw in some feedback. And we'll do this in the valid function. So turn false, and let's say log key value. Oops. And find out what the value of that is. I think we need to put log further up for this to work. I think CoffeeScript will actually do that for us. It'll hoist it for us. Okay, so PID valid. So this is not valid. That's true. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna get rid of the invalid ones because those are the ones. These are just gonna confuse us. So this is saying height valid, 74 inches. And this is saying that it is, oh, you know what it is? I think I know what it is. It's the dumbest thing. It's these, so I'm doing these comparisons here, and I'm not parsing the height. So I've got num. Oh, and also I'm doing it against height and not num, so this should be num. And I should also say num equals parse float. Oops. Num. Should just parse that right away. So let's see if that fixes it. It does fix it. Okay, so that's good. What other things did I do like that? Was it just this one where I had to split it apart and then compare it as a number? It likely, because yeah, I'm parsing the other ones up here. Yeah, okay, cool. So let's keep these assertions then. It's happy, and up here I've got that bit where I've split this up to log that, which I don't need anymore. Okay, cool. So I guess the last thing that we need to do now that we've asserted both of these cases is we need to run it. Input equals require, oops, input, and then we want to, oh yeah, we should probably assert these num valids as well. So assert num valid, valid import, and assert 0 is, yeah, okay, so this is really all we need for the assertions. And then down here we're just going to log. Gonna get a log input. Oops, that blew up. object null is not iterable. Okay. HGT valid. Line 102. Line 102. Object is not iterable. Okay. Let's just guard that, and we'll only try to call match. It's not iterable. It's not that. It's going to be that. Let's just fall back to an empty array. See if it likes that. Cannot read property match of undefined. Whoops. 224. So not having a height. I guess we can return unless height as well. Return. Oops. False. Less. And that way we get to keep our logic here clean of, we know that there's going to be a height. So it doesn't like that. Height present. No, it's still not liking that. 103, yeah. Return false. So height is present, height just isn't matching this, I guess. Yeah, okay. I guess we'll do what we were doing before, which is just saying, hey, if you can't do this, then return false. And then we can remove this because we don't care. We'll just put it in like that. All right. Okay. I'm not super jazzed about that, but that's okay. Then count the number of valid passports. How many passports are valid? So let's try it. 224. Is this the correct answer? It is the correct answer. Okay, cool. Gold star for us. Turn to advent calendar. Okay, so I don't know. This one was a bit annoying because we had to write all these specific validation functions. What could we do to clean this up? This is repetitive, but like any amount of like writing logic to do this would be at best like a complicated one-liner or two-liners. Required. I feel like required fields would be maybe a better, or required keys. Keys would be a better word here. Okay. And I mean, we could just make this an array of strings. I don't know, this is just easier for me to add to in the future if I needed to do that. This is such a common pattern that we're checking that a number is between two things that we could probably do that. I think, does CoffeeScript support, you know, whoops, A is less than B is less than, 5 is less than A is less than 6. Yeah, it does. Nice. Okay. So let's just do that. There we go. That's pretty clean. I don't know that we're going to get much more terse or readable than that. I mean, we could make a function like is between and then, pass it in. But I don't feel like that's going to save us any mental load in the future if we look at this. Let's just make sure this continues to work. Yeah, 224, it's the same answer. So what are we doing here? We're going to return false unless there's a number and a unit. Then we parse the number. Then we switch on the number for the different rules if it's centimeters or inches. Yeah, I don't feel like we could make any headway here either. HCL valid. This really just, I feel like this is a shitty valid function just because, does this cover all hex cases? I guess it does. It's just weird that we're just looking at the string. And then ECL valid, it's got to be in that valid ECLs. We could split these out like we did required fields into their own definition. that's necessary. And then PID valid, same deal. It's just a shitty validation, but that's what they wanted. Okay, so what about this parse function? It works. It's one of these weird things where we're just like string matching. I feel like we could probably use regex better here to create an object better, where we like actually just parse it into an object. But this isn't that bad, and honestly, I really just don't care to do better in this case. I think this is fine. We initialize an empty object. We run the match. We map over the results. And that's fine. Okay. Parse input. This is annoying to me that we're parsing the input in a separate step. Also that we are kind of running this. It's weird that this is separate from the object, but each one of these represents one passport. So I don't feel that weird about them. This is just sort of like input filtering. And then this would be just like iterating over that. Yeah, it's okay. I'm okay with this. What fixes do we make here that we want to backport to number 1? We did some valid stuff. Required. Oh, required. I'm gonna name it required keys because that's better. Make sure that this still works. Is that the same number that we had before? 264? Yeah, okay. Alright. Yeah, okay. I mean, I feel good about this. So I guess it's time to commit it. And alright, stay 4. And push it. Cool. Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Sorry for the lack of audio for the first, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. I'll make sure that that audio meter is going next time. Yeah. Again, open to any tips aside from have audio. If you have any tips for what I'm doing here, love to hear them. Either comments or in the Toronto JS Slack if you're there. So cool. All right. See you next time, everyone.